Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next video. Today we have got another Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 class description, and we're looking at the Complete Warrior, because today we will be talking about the Samurai. Now the Samurais, it's an interesting class, so we're going to go over it, and what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about what the Samurai is. We're going to talk about your roleplay aspects, like what kind of character they are, how you'd go about playing them. Then we're going to talk about the stats and statistics of them, about how you would actually try and make a build with these guys, how good they are, and all that good fun stuff. So we're going to talk about all the things they get, and yeah, so let's get into it. So first off, what is a samurai? Well, I mean, it's what you think. Like it's originally from the Japanese period, but Japanese period, originally from Japan. I'm not cultured enough to know exactly what period or anything, but I know they're from Japan, and they tend to be higher class swordsmen typically from Japan. But in this case, we're adapting them for a D&D setting, and basically, there's swordsmen. They use long sword and short sword, basically, except they're more like katanas. So yeah, that's basically what they are. They're highly disciplined. They're, yeah, they're very disciplined. They follow the strict Bushido code. Yeah, so let's see. They have to be lawful. That is a requirement. They typically aren't going to follow a religion, but if they do, it'll be something. It'll be one of the lawful deities, like Heronius or Saint Cuthbert, or if they're evil, Hextor. Somebody who's got some rigid codes for them to follow. Background: they're usually high class, typically, although not necessarily. Because of that, when you look at races, you're going to see dwarves are going to be one that is going to naturally fall into this role. Elves, I guess, can. Halflings and gnomes, not so much. Half orcs is pretty rare because they're rarely ever going to be high society, nor are they going to be very lawful typically. So half orcs are pretty rare. The book doesn't mention humans, but I mean, pretty sure humans would be fairly likely. I mean, they're based off of the Japanese samurai, and pretty sure Japanese people are human. Pretty sure. Yeah, they are. Anyways, so the samurai, they're going to basically be like a fighter. That's going to be their role in the party. Yeah, they're pretty similar to a fighter in a lot of ways. So that's really that's a lot of what they are. Now, if you're going to be playing a samurai, you're going to stay strict to samurai code. You're going to like other lawful type characters like the paladin or the monk. You're going to be a little confused by paladins who value whether something's right or wrong a lot, whereas samurai tend to be more on the neutral, lawful neutral side. I mean, they're not necessarily, but they tend to really value law heavily. So whether something's good or bad isn't a huge concern for them. Yes, they can be lawful good as well as lawful evil, but they're going to value the law more than they will good. Even then, same with lawful evil. They'll value law more than evil. So they're going to follow that code over what's right or wrong. Yeah, so that's basically how you're going to play them. Now for the stats and statistics. Alright, so they got a D10 hit dice, so that's pretty good. Same with the fighter. Good base attack bonus. Again, also same as the fighter. Now they also have, good fortitude save, but a bad reflex and will save. Again, the same as the fighter. So far, they're pretty identical to the fighter. But here's where they start to differ from the fighter. They, of course, don't get, the 11 bonus feats that fighters do. Instead, they're going to get a number of other things. So they're going to get, first off, they're going to get the ability to use their two swords. Basically, they gain bastard sword proficiency effectively. It's a special bastard sword, but Yeah, so they'll get the exotic weapon proficiency for that. So that's nice. Um, they're also going to gain two weapon fighting effectively. That's what their two swords is one is, but it's effectively two weapon fighting. It's just only with their two specific swords. They cannot do it with anything else. And it's called Dashio proficiency for their exotic weapon proficiency with their sword. I cannot remember, nor am I confident that I can pronounce the names of these swords. Anyways, they also get Kai Smite. Now, Kai Smite, it's okay. It lets them add their charisma to attack and damage, once per day. I think it goes up to like 4 times per day eventually. Yeah, 4 times. So that's very limited. It's a decent ability since it's a free action, but it is only 4 times per day. So, and being able to add that to attack and damage a couple times is limiting. Let's see, and it's only 1 attack, so they can't do it on all their attacks, so they have to pick which one. They also get what's called Aijutsu Master, which basically just gives them quick draw with their swords. They have now, one of the more unique things is their stare down ability, which basically lets them use Intimidate more easily. So they gain a +4 bonus to Intimidate. And when they do that, they are also able to demoralize a little more easily than usual. They can do that as a standard action, which is not typical. Then eventually they can do that as a move action, and they can also do it to anyone within 30 feet of them. So they can, and not just any, like everybody. So like they're surrounded, everyone within 30 feet, they can stare down. They can use Intimidate on all at once, and they can try and demoralize them all with a move action. So not terrible. Now it will prevent them from making a full attack. So there's that. But there could be situations where you're not able to make a full attack. Like maybe you just took down somebody, and you have to move to get to somebody else. So you could move towards them, but instead maybe you want to try and demoralize them instead. There's various situations where that might be the better option. It's situational, but you can do it as much as you want. Let's see, improved Aijutsu. So he gets the improved initiative feat, so that's not bad. Just a +4 to initiative, nothing bad. Already talked about mass stare down. Improved 2 swords is 1. Basically, they get greater 2 weapon fighting, and then improved 2 weapon fighting and greater 2 weapon fighting, but only with their swords. Improved stare down is already talked about that. It just lets them do it faster. And then the one thing that they do get is they get Frightful Presence, which is kind of an improvement on their stare down, although it is a little different. So basically, when they draw their sword, it'll activate a Frightful Presence. So anyone within 30 feet, the same distance for their stare down, will have to make a will save, which is DC 20 plus the Samurai's Charisma modifier, which isn't bad. And it's very similar to most. If they have low hit dice, they'll be shaken for 46 rounds. If they have less than 4 or fewer, if they have more than that, they're not going to be shaken. They're going to be, let's see, shaken for 46 rounds. Oh, so they'll be panicked for 46 rounds or shaken if they have more. But it's only up to 19 hit dice. So if they're over 20 hit dice, this doesn't work. But that's still not too bad. So that's what they get. Now they can all. Now it's kind of up to debate whether it's only when it's drawn. That's how it's worded directly, or if it's just whenever they have their sword that's being wielded. So hard to say. That's kind of a DM call on that one. But at the very least, if it's your DM's going to take it literally, you can draw your sword as a free action, so you can do this as a free action. Just twice, because you do have 2 swords, and pretty sure most TMs would let you do it with either one of your swords when drawn. So you could draw one and then draw the other later to get the effect as well. So there's that. So yeah, you have a couple options on that. Of course, you could always sheathe the sword and then redraw to get the effect again, potentially. Like most fear effects, if you make the save, then you can't be affected for 24 hours. You know how it goes. So let's talk about, is this any good? Well, kinda. I mean, they're pretty good at what they do, but fighter, if they just use some of those bonus feats, could gain a lot of this. I mean, they could get quick draw, they could get bastard sword for exotic weapon proficiency, bastard sword. They could get great 2-weapon fighting, improved 2-weapon fighter, greater 2-weapon fighting. They can get improved initiative. That's 6 feats. They get 11, so that'll leave a fighter with 5 extra feats. That's bonus feats. That's not including the normal feats they get for leveling up. Now, the fighter's not going to get all the stare down stuff, nor are they going to get the ability to add their charisma to attack and damage. Okay, that's something. But they can take, improve they can take weapon focus and weapon specialization to get an extra 2 to attack and 4 to damage if they wanted. It's not going to be as much, but it'll be close. That's assuming they wanted to do 2-weapon fighting in the first place, which dual wielding, it really depends on your party. If you have someone to give you a lot of buffs in the party, then it can definitely be worth it. But it's not something that the samurai really gets on its own. So you're going to have to find like some magic items that give buffs. Try and find ways to do that somehow. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, the fighter kind of outpowers it in a lot of those ways. Then if you look at like the ranger, they also are going to get, if they take the 2-weapon fighting feat, so they're going to get all those as well. Now with the fighter, they generally have to have meet the prereqs for all those feats, whereas the samurai does not have to meet the prereqs. So there's that. The ranger also doesn't have to do that though, and of course they get animal companions and spells and all sorts of other stuff. So the only thing that they have going for them that can make up for these extra things. I guess with the ranger they have the higher hit dice, but they definitely are a bit lacking. Their stare down isn't bad. If you have a really high charisma and strength, I guess you can make pretty good use and get get a few really strong strikes per day, which if you use it at the right time could be useful, but I don't know. It's not the most consistent thing in the world. The really big thing that they have going is the stare down and their fear aura. That's something that a lot of other classes aren't going to get. That's pretty unique to them. I hear there are some. I hear there is like some variant fighter, but it's from a kind of obscure source. Whereas this one's complete warrior. It's one of the most recognized splat books out there. So it's far more likely your DM will allow this than other options that can get the stare down and that. The trick is, is the stare down worth it? Hard to say. It really is, because that's really the only thing that makes them, that they have that the fighter doesn't. Because the fighter can get everything else they can and better with 5 extra feats. Is the stare down and the fear aura and that 4 times a day being able to add charisma to a single attack. Is it worth it? I mean, you could do it all in one turn. You could burn all 4 of those in the same turn. I mean, you're going to have like 7 attacks a turn by 20th level. So yeah, you could very easily burn all 4 of those in the same turn. and just on your primary hand, leave the offhand with nothing. So that's definitely an option. If you wanted to fell someone quickly and you happen to have a really high charisma. But hard to say if it's true, if it's really worth going all the way into this class. It's not bad. It can definitely be, you can definitely work it with it, but you know, there are other classes that can do the same thing as they can. Now, if they were to add they were to add a couple of things that could make it better, like they only get 2 skill. I forgot to mention they only get 2+ in for skill points. Their skill list is decent though, so if they had a few more skills, that might make them better. If they gained weapon focus and weapon specialization feats as well, if they were to be able to have those 4 feats, that would definitely help. And be able to apply them to both swords simultaneously. That would be really nice. That would actually put them fairly comparable to a fighter and make it a much better class. But it is a little underpowered, so definitely watch out for that. But it could be worse. But yeah. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about the samurai down below in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Ring that notification bell so that YouTube actually gives you the videos, because they're kind of terrible about that. But anyways, as always, I'm Mitch, and I'll be seeing you.